Over the past week, the United States of America has gone past China and Italy to become the most affected country due to coronavirus outbreak, with more than 83,000 cases and over 1,000 deaths. Now, New York has become the new epicenter of the pandemic in the United States of America, and there has been a sharp rise in the number of cases there. Republic Media Network continues to get you voices from United States of America, and we're also joined by guests from United States of America. Joining me on the broadcast, along with our editor Niranjan, our Professor Vikram Khanna from Michigan, Dr. Rizvi Proheat from New York, Chef Kiran Varma and her daughter Pooja from Houston, and Mr. Rangaswamy from California. A very good evening, viewers. It's bedtime for you there. It's morning here in India. Niranjan can also take this forward, but my first question to Dr. Rizvi Proheat, since New York is the new epicenter of COVID-19, we've seen how the number has now crossed the tally in Italy and Spain as well, Mr. Proheat. You know, everyone saw it coming for the United States of America. What do you think went wrong? Why was the country not able to contain the spread?
Well, I think New York is a global capital, which makes it tough because we have people coming from all over the world. I mean, I have to say our hospital really prepared. I mean, we've canceled all of our elective surgeries. We were planning for these kinds of numbers. But you really can't control the flow of people and how people interact. The state governor, State Governor Cuomo has really done a fantastic job of warning people, but a lot of people don't listen. And I think the federal government probably could have done a better job in the United States in controlling, helping control the inflow of coronavirus.
Rizvi Proheat is an associate professor at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City. Dr. Rizvi Proheat, thank you for joining us on this broadcast. And if I can just quickly go across to our other panelists as well, Kritzween, because we have a very distinguished panel with us this morning, and it's very late in the US. Let me next go across to Vikram Khanna, who's a law professor at the University of Michigan Law School. Mr. Khanna, as my colleague Kritzween just mentioned, America surpassing China in the sheer number of coronavirus cases. You know, at one point, Iran was behind China, and then we saw the cases surge in Italy. And then before you know it, America surpassed the entire world in the sheer number of cases. Now, Dr. Rizvi Proheat briefly touched upon the measures that the federal government may not have taken, that's the Trump administration may not have taken in America. What's your observation? As a professor, what is your observation of what America could have done and didn't?
Thank you. I think that taking more measures earlier would have been advisable. Would have been a good idea, as it's mentioned.
In particular, arranging for masks and testing earlier on, and maybe even engaging in social distancing earlier on. Taking more affirmative steps.
Okay, affirmative steps. Let me take that forward to, because one thing that we've seen across the world, as 3 billion people remain under lockdown, is the kind of impact it has had, especially on the economy. I have with me Kiran Varma, who's the executive chef and owner of Kiran. She's worked also very closely with the Indian government at one point when the Prime Minister visited Houston during the Howdy Modi visit. She's joining us live along with her daughter Pooja Varma, who's also the director of operations at Kiran's. One stat that I picked up this morning was about how a record 3.3 million Americans have filed for unemployment. Now, here in India, yesterday, Kiran and Pooja, I can tell you that the Indian government has announced a massive package. I know in America, the $3 trillion package has been debated and passed finally. But economy-wise, employment-wise, what's the kind of hit that you're seeing businesses take?
Oh, businesses are taking a huge hit at this time. I mean, we are certainly appreciative of the stimulus being passed, but in terms of day-to-day operations, while the stimulus has been passed, we still have rent due at the first of the month. We still have utilities to pay. Sales are definitely down tremendously at this time. Food services being an essential industry, we are able to do pickup and delivery orders, but the majority of our sales come from seated guests, which of course is not taking place at this time as per city mandate. So it's going to be a tough few months.
Yeah, I'd like Kiran to also perhaps pitch in on that, Pooja. If you could just pass the phone on to her as well. I'd like to hear from her as well.
Yes, I will do that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hello?
Yeah, Kiran, go ahead. I was talking to Pooja about the kind of impact this has had on the economy, especially in America, in terms of the businesses, how they've taken a hit, not just across the world, but I think in America, we were talking about the unemployment figures as well.
Of course, you know, we have been now closed officially for more than 10 days, and it has affected sales tremendously. But, you know, Pooja handles more the business part of it. I am just trying to make sure the food we make is in a safe environment. We are just worried about our guests' health and our employees' safety, and also our guests' safety and their well-being, and hopefully whatever little we can provide to our employees at that time of need, we are trying that.
Yeah. And Mr. Rangaswamy, who's the founder of Diaspora, is also with us on this broadcast. It's late in the US, it's early morning here in America, but you know, some of the very, very positive stories that we're taking away from the US is also the role of the Indian diaspora, Indian American hoteliers. Mr. Rangaswamy, we've heard they've all come together to come forward and help Indian students stranded. It's not just in America, across the world. In the last couple of weeks that we here at Republic have been broadcasting, students stranded in Italy, many stranded in Iran, you know, across Europe, Middle East and the Americas, several people stranded. What's the role that the Indian diaspora is playing to ensure that we tide through this time of crisis?
Yeah, it's a great question. What we're doing at Diaspora, which is a leadership group, we have direct connections to the ambassador, to all the different consul generals across the US. And we are now facilitating that connection between people who are stranded in the US who want to go back, really make sure they're legitimate cases that can actually make their way back to India. So we've been playing a role behind the scenes with that. And we encourage other people in the US to kind of come to Diaspora to do so. And that's one of the services we can do. The other thing we're doing is informing our community. We had former Surgeon General Vivek Murthy with us a couple of days ago talking to our members. And so that also was very helpful in communicating and informing the Indian American community that the former Surgeon General, Dr. Murthy, is one of us, and we can trust him, and he's very credible. So we've been doing a lot of information dissemination and also facilitation of people who are stranded in the US and trying to get them back to India.
Yeah. You know, I want to go back to Dr. Rizvi Proheat of Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City. Dr. Proheat, one of the biggest debates on American media that we are picking up this morning here in India is about whether America's testing abilities somewhere saw gaps and whether America acted late. As someone who's based at now the epicenter, which we feel is the epicenter, which is New York City, which is seeing thousands of cases, what's your observation, Dr. Proheat?
You know, I have a personal experience with this. I can tell you my wife, who's a gynecologist at a city hospital in New York, developed a fever and a cough, went to her employee health, and they said they just didn't have enough testing for her, and they sent her home to go into isolation without any testing. I think we're now getting sort of caught up on testing. The testing really should have been available a week ago or 2 weeks ago before this virus began spreading, particularly among patients who are asymptomatic. For those patients, if we could have quarantined them earlier, I think this would have really been a very different trajectory. And it's unfortunate that testing wasn't available, more testing wasn't available, and more widespread testing wasn't available in the United States, and particularly in New York.
Yeah. I think my colleague Kritsween has a question. Kritsween, go ahead.
Right. You know, Niranjan, since you pointed out, about the testing infrastructure there, what also caught my attention was how when the White House was asked about the numbers, it said that It is a tribute, in fact, to the testing capacity and the capability of United States of America. So that's the kind of narrative that the White House really went ahead with. My next question to Mr. Vikram Khanna. Mr. Vikram Khanna, you know, many are of the opinion that India-type lockdown would have made the situation better. Do you think so?
I think the lockdown is a very good idea. Of course, the issue is take seriously. One of the issues that was in the US was that many people continue to sort of
ignore advice given by various public health authorities and some government officials to stay inside and stay at home. I think that people are now ruling. We're seeing high rates of infection amongst younger individuals as well, with many of them being hospitalized. And it seems like taking more care and staying at home has been advisable.
Yeah. Vikram, let me take this question to Pooja and also, Pooja and Kiran, who are joining us. And before we come to the end of this special broadcast, just want to ask Pooja and Kiran, your message for all the people who are staying back home. I know a lot of you have family and relatives in India as well. What's your message to them? Pooja and Kiran.
Oh, for me, my message to family and friends back home in India is stay home, stay healthy, stay safe, stay in touch. And obviously, please let us know whatever we can do from here for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Rangas, yeah, go ahead.
I will just pass it to my mom to do the same. For my message back home to India, what would you tell them at this time?
Mr. Rangaswamy.
I am worried because I am from India. I do know the conditions in India. So I just hope and pray that everybody keeps very hygienic conditions around them and keeping good amount of social distance, though it's hard in India to do that just because we have a lot of helpers who come at home to help them, and hopefully everybody would be able to do things on their own and not have a lot of outsiders come inside the house. And maybe actually it will give another chance to everybody to get closer to each other. And right now I'm very thankful that they are keeping in touch with WhatsApp and telephones and everything. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Kiran. I'll give the last word to Mr. Rangaswamy. Mr. Rangaswamy, your appeal, to all your family members and relatives here in India. Well, that's the connect. What's your message to them?
Yeah, so the message is we are duly connected. We are responsible for the Indian community here in the U.S., which is 3 to 4 million in strength. We have this dual identity of being Indians as well. So we really are torn between the two nations to make sure that our relatives in India are safe, as well as our relatives in the U.S. are safe. So this is kind of the dual identity that comes to the forefront in crises like these. So we pray for both the Indian Americans and the Indians at the same time.
Vikram Khanna, Dr. Rizvi Proheat, Kiran Varma, Pooja Varma, and Mr. Rangaswamy, really appreciate you joining us on this broadcast. I know it's really late. Stay safe, stay home, and thank you for speaking to Republic TV once again. Thank you very much. On that note, I'll hand it back to Kritsween in the studio.